Hello, goobers. It is me, your one and only favorite goober, here to talk to you about some stuff about my story. Alright. As a human being, I am human. I have grown up, and a part of my life has been daydream. I mean, I've always been a daydreamer. I don't think I have uh, that type where, what's it called? Maladaptive daydreaming. I don't think I've ever reached a point of confusing reality from fiction. Um, but I do often daydream, especially when I was in school. I would I would daydream most of the day and just kind of escape to my little world, just kind of do my own thing. Cause I didn't like school. I didn't like that much at all. There were times where I was engaged and the topic was interesting, of course, but if I was ever uninterested or I just didn't care or I was just in my head about something that I wanted to imagine or think about, I would, and because of that, I feel like it's bred a lot of creativity in my life, and it's not something that I'd ever wish to live without. I think I'd I'd rather go with it than go without, lest I wish to lose my sanity. I couldn't imagine a world where I couldn't just daydream, where I couldn't just make up music in my head, where I couldn't just imagine. I wouldn't I wouldn't want that. That would be a hell for me. Right. And I talk about this because, you know, today you wouldn't believe it, but I was daydreaming. Oh yeah. Listen to music, daydreaming is very easy. It's practically a hobby of mine in a way. I wouldn't say it's a full-blown hobby, but it's something I enjoy doing. I like booting up some music and then just daydreaming. I never just listen to music. Maybe I'll dance in my head, but you know, most of the time I'm imagining scenarios in my head. I'm imagining my characters, you know, going through things in my head. I'm imagining that kind of stuff. I'm never just listening to music just to listen to music. I'm always daydreaming. It's a very common accompanying activity. And so that brings me to my next point. What I did for the day was some thinking about events I want to have happen in my story. And I watched a video today that really spoke to me. I believe it was a video about Invincible and the difference between the show and the comic. And the biggest thing that I took away from that video, and even the person who was making that video, they were an author of a story themselves, and they brought up that, pacing is very important, right? But while pacing was a conversation that was had, the biggest takeaway I had was about earning big climactic moments rather than rushing to these big things that you think will hook, the reader, or you think will be interesting, instead of taking the time to build up. For instance, I want my main character to enter a relationship with another one of the main cast, and I want that to be a very strong point of the story throughout the story. But I don't want to rush their development. I want to make sure I get it right. I want to make sure it has its ups, and I want to make sure it has its downs. I want there to be nuance in their relationship before they decide to be a couple. And I want to make sure that I earn that. I want to if there's one thing that I want to make sure I do and try to get right with my story, my manga, is I want to make sure that I earn these large climactic moments, right? These things that I think will hook the reader or will be a point of interest throughout the story. I think there's many times, for instance, you see Naruto. I like to use Naruto as an example because it's kind of fresh-ish, meh in my mind. But like, you'll see the beginning, and there's some checkpoints here and there, whether the community says so or whether you're just looking at Naruto exclusively and what he does and his power-ups, right? And then you get to Shippuden, and you get some very obvious like power-up checkpoints, but like, you know, it wouldn't mean anything if you just see Naruto and then he's a sage and he's got this cool sage power. It meant something because you got to watch him grow. You got to watch him become more powerful by virtue of training, right? He earned that power on screen. And so that big reveal wasn't a reveal to us, but it was a reveal to the rest of the cast in a way that Naruto had gotten that much stronger when he reached Sage Mode. Or I guess not Sage Mode, but when he became a Sage, because, well, that's just what he is. He attained Sagehood. You know, he mastered that, and boom, he earned that moment. And I feel like it was pretty well deserved through the actions that you see within him training to become that. I want to earn these big moments in my story, kind of like Naruto in Sage Mode, because if you don't earn it, it's not as cool. That was one of my biggest takeaways. Was like, this moment could have been more had you just planted some other seeds in that soil, right? The flower's beautiful, but if you just see the flower, sure, it's nice, but you could have decorated the garden around it. It could be a flower in a beautiful garden, not just a beautiful flower. I just made that up, so I'm sorry if that makes no sense, but I think you can kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to say, right? It's it's nice, but if you do some work around it, it could be even nicer, right? And so I just been thinking about that today. I'd always kind of had it in my mind that I want to make sure that I earn these things. I want to make sure that I don't just rush to these big points. I want to earn them. And I think that'd be easier the more structured my story is. But a part of me is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's not let's not structure it that much. But I do want to plan out major points in my story. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, the relationship beginning with my characters. They're not gonna like get married. I mean, I might pull, hey, to call back to Naruto, on Naruto. Sorry for the spoilers. Maybe my characters get married, at like the end of the story, but they're gonna be together. They're not just gonna be like magically together and then they're married. Side eye. Uh, but like, or maybe they do get married. Hell, to be honest with you, I am not gonna lie to you. I do, unironically, have a scene scripted out of them getting married. I already have the dialogue and all that. Now, the thing about that is, I first need to take a step back and, how are my characters going to talk? What are their personalities? And then reevaluate that scene, yada yada. That's a whole other topic, really. But I think the biggest thing that I wanted to mention today, and I've already definitely exhausted that topic here because I don't feel I have anything more to add, was just about earning those big climactic moments, right? I think that's a good place to leave off. I really, as I said, don't have anything to add to this topic, and I believe I've made my point. So I'm going to leave it there. I wish you all good night and good luck. We're all going to need it. Whether or not you believe it, we need it. So I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Anyways, y'all, bye bye.